made a lot of noise associated with us not filling those two positions. And one of the things that was done per order of Mr. Belkonis was that we had officers involved in the, I think it's Lynn drug team. So we're actually spending our police hours out of town. That was corrected. Therefore, I feel very comfortable not filling those two positions. But now we're at a point where we're paying overtime for this position. I would recommend that we fill it. And I think Greg has elaborated on how to cover it, but believe me, it's covered. Yes, Mr. Veen.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend we go forward with this. I mean, how much more are we gonna cut this police department? Every time an opening comes up, it's always, let's wait 6 months, let's wait 9 months. Well, we're gonna get somebody killed, because they need the manpower to respond. If filling it with overtime doesn't solve the fact that you're down one man. Just, we need the personnel in that department. They're already down 2, now they're down 3. I have always felt those 2 should have not gone vacant. And I feel strongly on that, and I feel they should be filled, and I feel there's a number of positions in the town that should be filled. I understand the money constraints, but how far are we gonna cut public safety? Thank God we live in a very safe community with a good police department and a good fire department. We keep cutting this, and we're gonna destroy this town. I definitely say we go forward and fill it.
I agree with Davino in terms of we have a very good public safety staff, both fire and police. I guess what I would like to see before I agree to fill it, and I'm not saying I'm against filling it, I just like to see the financial analysis from the chief as to what is the cost going forward in terms of overtime that he projects spending or has spent already. I don't think it's too much to ask before the position is filled.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I have no problem with figures, but what I'm saying is that does not put another body at a scene if the body is not there.
Well, if you're filling the position, then you're not down a man on a shift. So you have the same amount of personnel on the road.
You do, unless you have an all-in callback for an emergency situation, then you're down, well, they'd be down 3 now, not just 1 or 2. That's my point on this. You're taking another man, or another person, I shouldn't say man, you're taking another officer off of the department, and I disagree.
What are we talking about? If we get those numbers together, we're talking till the next meeting? Is that what we're talking? So we're only talking a couple of weeks, really? So if we have those numbers, we can make a more encompassing decision on it, rather than just saying, let's just do it. At least we'll feel confident. I don't doubt what Joe says at all. In fact, it makes a lot of sense. But if we have all the numbers and we can justify our actions by having those numbers at the next meeting, then we can go forward.
I think we have a piece of the puzzle that we don't have this evening. More educated decision.
We won't be perceived as guessing, let's put it that way.
I think that it's pretty obvious that there's a need for the position. I mean, to me, quantify it, I understand the board's concern, but, I don't think it's gonna show that we can get by with one less person. I certainly think that in terms of staffing within the department, it's the appropriate action to do, and I certainly am respectful of the board's position. I'll get you that information, but I'm confident it's gonna show that we need to fill the position. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let me move on. On the Northeast Regional School budget, as you know, there was an amount that was approved at town meeting a week ago. We received the 4th version of the regional school budget. The good news is this budget is in accordance with the guidelines that were issued by the Mass Department of Education. I believe you have a copy of it. If you don't, let me know.
I think if there's an extra, would you send it back this way, because I don't mind.
Back.
Oh, this is a copy here that's all marked up.
Yep, no, they're all marked
Oh,
up.
okay.
They're all marked up. That's me, that's my
Okay.
handwriting.
All right.
Okay, so the new requested appropriation is $31,103 more than the amount that we voted at town meeting. I mentioned to you the key item that's noted here, if you look at the first paragraph in the letter, November 16th of 2009. First paragraph states that the revised 2010 operating budget was prepared in collaboration with the Department of Education, Elementary and Secondary Education. It totals the DESE's recommended budget of $19,074,606. The budget that was recommended by the state provides for a 1% total increase in assessments. That compares to a 5.4% increase in assessments, which was the latest version of the budget that was presented to town meeting. I think it's fair. I think it's what we were looking for was a budget that was a compromise. We should proceed with it. My recommendation would be to proceed with this budget. I do not believe that there's an action at town meeting that will be necessary at this point. Simply acknowledging the budget, you can either do that this evening or you can do it at a future meeting. Just so you know, the 31,103 is not equal to 1% for North Reading because we have increase in enrollment. We have 3 additional students that are going there, so we pay proportionally more for the cost of sending some additional children to that school. But the overall impact on the assessment cumulative is 1%. Any questions?
No questions. I think it's more of a comment in going forward with the vote, adopting the vote school budget. I would like to see our representative to the vote school committee come in and explain their budget, and possibly have the superintendent come in future years. 'Cause it appears to me that what we're presented with is a number to accept or reject without knowing what's behind that number. So, those are my comments.
That's for you.
I think, for the benefit of the public, I think what's very important to understand in this budget is that, as we all know, as students, as parents with students, we have to pay for the transportation of our children to school, and we have to pay for our children to participate in extracurricular activities such as sports, theater, and so on. It's, what, $700 for 1 year for one child, and there's a cap on a family. And then there are costs for theater, it's $125 for non-sports programs. And, brought to my attention, and brought to the board's attention, is that at the vote, the students or the parents do not have to pay for the transportation of their children to school, as we do. And for extracurricular activities, they do not have to pay for those either, whereas we do. So, in essence, what's being passed here, and I have to use the word imposed upon the town of North Reading and other towns as well, is that we are not only paying for our children's transportation costs and extracurricular activity costs, but we are paying for others as well, which would be, in my opinion, a double whammy. So I think that the public needs to understand what we're looking at here as far as when we have to pay for the costs for the vote. Thank you.
Mr. Early.
Just as a follow-up to Mr. Yule's comments, first of all, as far as the transportation issue, we're well beyond the state requirements whereby we could even ask people to make the kids walk. I mean, it's down to Wakefield, so the town's required to provide the transportation at no charge. It's outside the radius required, I don't know if it's a 1 mile radius or a 2 mile radius. A 2 mile radius, if it's inside 2 miles, then you don't have to provide the transportation, the kids can walk as long as it's safe and adequate access to the schools. But it's several miles, of course, down to Wakefield, so we're required by state law to provide the transportation. So there's no savings that can be realized there on the part of the vocational school committee to the town of North Reading. In relation to the user fees, and this isn't necessarily in defense of them not charging anything, but if you look at the member communities that are a party to this consortium, many of the communities' median family incomes are extremely low. Where if you look at the Chelseas and the Everetts, those communities, there are a lot of low and moderate income families, low and moderate income census tracts in those communities whereby the median family incomes are extremely low, and that would preclude a certain number of students from even participating because their family incomes are, 50% the median family incomes. So the demographics and the makeup of our consortium here at the vocational school are very different than what we enjoy here in North Reading. So I think you'll probably hear some cogent arguments as to why they're not charging, or if they were to charge, there would be nominal fees, because it would preclude a large segment of the student population in that vocational school community from participating. So I think that's why most of the costs are being, or all the costs are being absorbed currently under the budget.
So just as information for the, is that this additional charge will be put on the recap sheet. So it will require going to town meeting.
Pardon me, it will or not?
What?
I'm
Will
sorry.
not, will not. And when is the schedule for the recap sheet? Obviously, it takes place after our tax.
This week.
This week. So is it that we want to have a vote on
I
this
think it would be
tonight?
important to reach finality on this thing so that we can get the recap sheet and get it submitted, yes.
Okay, then I'd make a motion to waive policy on this issue, so that
Since
we
it's
can
not an
vote on
agenda
it
item.
this evening. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Oh, I'd like to comment.
Oh, yes.
I would have liked to have seen this on the agenda rather than having to waive policy, but
That makes sense. You got the information when you got it, so.
We just got it on
Yeah.
yesterday.
yeah.
We just got it yesterday.
All in favor on the motion to waive policy on this?
Aye.
Okay. Someone had a question. Yes.
Just a comment, Trish Colella, my name is Fairview Street. From my experiences, and I'm glad to hear some of what's been said, from even the time that I was on the school committee, not Reading School Committee, and going through budget cycles. I think Mrs. Bailey and I spent some time attending both school committee meetings during budget season, and you're right, Steve, the demographics of the school are such that there may be some cogent arguments for some of what is or is not charged, or what is in the budget or not. But I also agree with Mr. Delaney. I'd like to see in the future, the vote budget is basically handed to, especially towns like North Reading, whereas the Chelseas and the Everetts, the city of Malden and such, they get the budget and they vote for it, and their level of state funding, because of some of the demographic issues, is much higher than what a North Reading might receive. And basically, the budget is handed to you, right, and to town meeting, and said, vote on it. There is no one looking at it, there's no one coming to you or to town meeting to explain what's in that budget and why. Yeah, there's gonna be things in it that you'll never see in a North Reading public schools budget because of the nature of the school itself. But I think that the time has come, especially in these very, very hard times, that another year cannot go by without that piece of paper being explained to the people of the town of North Reading. And I applaud you for what you've done this year of standing up and